You like to believe you are guided by principles. You recite words like integrity, honesty, loyalty. You point at your values like road signs. You tell yourself you choose. You don't, not when it matters. Not when something you want is on the line. Desire ignores your morals. It moves through you like gravity through a falling body, and your ethics go quiet until your appetite is fed. Then your mind writes a press release about why it was actually aligned with your values all along. You don't call it hunger. You call it nuance. You are watching this late for a reason. You already know something in you keeps paying with self-respect to buy a feeling. You tried to explain it to someone. They nodded. You felt more empty. You told a story about pressure, about confusion, about how it's complicated. You knew that was camouflage. You call it context because you don't want to say what it is. Surrender. Desire is indifferent. It doesn't negotiate with the slogans you post or the boundaries you announce. It reweights your priorities in real time. It turns red lights into yield signs. It makes exceptions feel like integrity. It takes your scripts and edits them to favor proximity, attention, status, control, relief. You call it being flexible. You call it being human. Then you go quiet when the bill shows up. Watch yourself in slow motion. You write rules when you're calm. You break them when you're hot. You promise yourself you'll leave. You promise yourself you'll stop. And a certain tone appears in a text. A certain notification lights your phone. A certain face looks at you the way you crave. Your chest tightens, your mouth gets dry, your brain starts producing reasons. Suddenly, the thing you swore off becomes not that bad. You invent subcategories. You redefine words. Your ethics become paperwork to justify a decision you've already made. Desire ignores your morals. Your morals work for your desire. You think your morals are a break. They're a brand. They tell other people what team you're on. They feel good to say out loud because they sound clean. The problem is, branding doesn't stop behavior. When something you want walks through the door, your nervous system leads and your narrative follows. You're not choosing. You're handling withdrawal symptoms. You hate hearing that. Good. You should. Because the only reason you keep getting pulled is that you keep pretending your story is stronger than your chemistry. It isn't. You don't have a value problem. You have a lever problem. Someone knows where it is, or you do, and you pretend it's not there until your life bends around it. Name your lever. Not out loud. In your head now? Attention? Admiration? Being chosen? Being right? Being safe? Being obeyed? Being innocent? Redemption? Revenge? Certainty? Whichever one it is, it rewrites your ethics the moment it's threatened or offered. You pretend your line can't be crossed. Your line is elastic. You stretch it every time you smell what you crave. You test it. You whisper just this once. You claim it's a special case. Then you live in the special case. You want examples. Not to learn. To see if you're exempt. You're not. You talk about honesty, but you omit truths to keep someone close. You hold back what would blow up the fantasy because you want their gaze on you. You call it protecting them. You call it timing. It's rationing truth to protect supply. You talk about fairness, but when status is on the table, you cut corners and then demand forgiveness. You call it hustle. You call it survival. It's a prayer to be seen as exceptional so you can be excused. You talk about loyalty, but as soon as someone gives you the specific kind of warmth you miss, you start redrawing your obligations in pencil. You say love is complicated. It isn't complicated. It's expensive. You don't want to pay the cost of choosing, so you juggle. You write a poem about destiny to feel noble while you cheat. You talk about kindness, but when conflict would cost you approval, you abandon the truth and comfort the liar. You call it de-escalation. You call it empathy. It's fear of exile wearing a friendly mask. You think you have rules. you have bargains. As long as they don't. If I never say it, after this, I'll quit. That's the language of hostage negotiations. You place your morality on layaway and hope desire stops asking for more payments. It won't. It learned you. You believe desire is personal and private. It isn't. It leaks. It's a scent. The room picks it up. The person who benefits from it picks it up. They don't need to know science. They just watch your pupils and your calendar. You respond faster. You turn soft when you should harden. You grant exceptions in the shadows and perform standards in public. You give them your schedule and your silence. You think you're hiding it. You're advertising. You are transparent to the one who matters most in this scenario. The one your nervous system has already decided is allowed to bend you. Hear the mechanism. Because it runs you, you live between two states, cool and hot. In the cool state, you talk like a judge. In the hot state, you act like a defendant bargaining a plea. In cool, you overestimate your control in heat. In heat, you act like cool never existed. That gap is where you spend your integrity. You clean up after your arousal. You clean up after your fear. You pretend cleanup equals character. It doesn't. Cleanup is housekeeping. Character is refusing to make the mess at full cost to yourself. You don't like that definition because it cuts the fantasy throat. Good. Let it bleed out. Watch how you explain. You think explanation equals clarity. It doesn't. It's a currency. Every time you explain your exception, you pay someone with information about what to offer you, what to threaten, and what you'll forgive. You are trying to purchase understanding. You are actually giving away your leverage. You think transparency makes you safe. It makes you predictable. Predictable is steerable. Remember this the next time you type a paragraph to justify why you stayed, why you returned, why you said yes. You are not confessing. You are arming. You think desire only seduces. It disciplines. Intermittent reward shapes you faster than pain. You didn't become obedient because someone yelled. You became obedient because sometimes it was perfect. Not often. Just enough. Your brain learned that one more try might bring the high. You call it hope. It's a ratio schedule. It trains animals to press a lever forever. You're not immune to that just because you can quote philosophy. You're pressing a lever dressed in arguments. You pretend it's noble because you suffer. Suffering isn't a credential. It's a signal you pay a lot for something you won't name. You perform moral distress to feel elevated. It doesn't elevate you. It decorates the cage. You wear your values like armor while you hand over the key. You announce boundaries like a billboard. Then you let one person walk past all of them because they know the password. The feeling you can't produce alone. You call it chemistry. You call it spark. It's leverage. They don't have to be evil to use it. They have to be awake. You taught them how by flinching every time they touch it. You can see the loops. You break a rule. You tell yourself a story about why the rule was naive. You promise to update your ethics to reflect reality. That's how your morals become less than moral. They follow your appetite instead of restraining it. You don't hold yourself to a standard. You rearrange the standard to match your latest exception. Then you call anyone who notices judgmental. You try to shame the mirror. You'll hear a whisper while you watch this. Everyone does this. That's not a defense. That's a confession. Universality doesn't make it harmless. Gravity floors everyone. It still kills you if you jump wrong. You like to think desire makes you bigger. It actually makes your world smaller. You stop seeing options that conflict with your hunger. Your attentional field narrows to the path that leads toward the thing. You call it clarity. It's tunnel vision. Then you become efficient at building the exact life that keeps you just close enough to your craving to never exit. You say you're trapped. You built the hallways and installed the doors. You're proud of the design until the day you realize the locks all face the same direction. Now watch the language you use when you remember your old self. I was young. I didn't know better. I had to. Those are not memories. They are alibis. You maintain them to avoid admitting what's consistent. When you want something, your ethics become negotiable. You traded more than you said you would. You did it with full awareness of the cost. You believed your story would make the bill disappear. It didn't. It just delayed it. Interest accumulated. That's why you feel older than your age when you're alone. That's not time. That's debt. You might be thinking about one person. Good. Keep them in frame. Notice how some mix of their absence and presence overrides your judgments. Notice how your mouth says, "I won't," while your hands prepare the exception. Notice how the arguments you make on their behalf sound nothing like the arguments you would accept from someone you don't desire. That difference is the betrayal. You are not consistent. You only become generous where you want something. You call it love. It's favoritism toward your own craving. You also do this with enemies. You claim to stand for justice. Then anger offers you a clean story and you take it. You stop checking facts. You stop caring about collateral damage. You tell yourself a righteous tale to sanctify your urge to harm. You pretend some outcomes justify your shortcuts. They don't. You wanted the satisfaction of punishment, and you built a moral throne for it. You call it accountability, so you don't have to call it revenge. You do it with control. You speak of consent and respect, then you withhold information because you're terrified of losing the upper hand. You micro-test, you set traps, you record mental ledgers. You call it protecting yourself. It's extraction. You hack for proof that you matter more than you fear. You don't get proof. You get dependence on the hacking. You are fluent in one set of rules when you are unchallenged. You are fluent in another set the moment desire wakes. You are bilingual in hypocrisy. You'll say that's harsh. Harsh is accurate. Accuracy is rare in your inner monologue. You go soft on yourself when every sign says go hard. Softness is how you keep doing it. You think you are making choices. You are making bargains with something that does not keep promises. Desire doesn't care about your later. It only cares about now. That's why your morning self detests your night self. That's why your sober self despises your hot self. You are living with a roommate who undoes your plans and leaves you notes about how it was necessary. You keep secrets because you fear losing access to the feeling. You call it privacy. It's inventory of leverage. Every hidden exception is a handle someone can grab. You think secrecy makes you safe. It makes you heavy. You carry it, and the weight makes you slow, and the slowness makes you available to anyone who moves quickly with confidence. That's how you get led. You say you hate manipulation. You only hate it when it's used against a desire you don't cherish. When someone manipulates you toward your favorite hunger, you cooperate. You call it a connection. You call it fate. You put a halo on your hook. You want to believe your morals matter most. If they did, you wouldn't have to audition them every time you're tempted. They would simply cost you, and you would pay. You don't pay. You staple reasons to your refusal and pretend to be principled. That's how you cork rot. Slow compromise wrapped in noble words. Know the names. They're clinical because you need to stop romanticizing your betrayals. Hot-cold empathy gap. You cannot imagine your hot self from a cool state. You think a speech will hold. It won't. It never has. Hyperbolic discounting. You overvalue immediate relief and undervalue long-term pain. You mortgage your future to avoid present discomfort. You call it living in the moment. Moral licensing. You do something good and then use it as a pass to do something bad. You keep score with yourself to excuse indulgence. Escalation of commitment. You keep investing in a losing path because you already paid so much. You call it loyalty. It's addiction to sunk cost. Intermittent reinforcement. You get rewarded unpredictably, so you keep trying. You call it hope. It's training. Euphemism. You rename betrayal as ambiguity so you can live with it. You call it nuance. It's fog. Foot in the door. You agree to something small, then something bigger, then your entire boundary is gone. You call it compromise. It was a map. Fear, obligation, guilt. You feel them and confuse them for virtue. You respond to all three by bending instead of leaving. If you replay those words, it's because they punctured a story you like. Good. Play them again. Learn how easily the machine steers you while you congratulate yourself on being thoughtful. Thoughtfulness without refusal is decoration on a lever. You think you will outgrow this. You won't. Desire thrives on age. It learns the exact frequency that moves you. It becomes more efficient. You become more inventive with your excuses. You write better essays to yourself. You tell better lies to people who love you. You hurt them more quietly. You call that maturity because you make less noise. It's not maturity. It's expertise at hiding the damage. You think you can balance both. Indulge your hunger and keep your halo polished. You do it until it stops working. Then you will meet the person, the institution, the habit that finally names how your desire behaves. They won't lecture you. They will make a small request at the right temperature, and you will obey against your ethics. You will call it complicated again. They will call it Tuesday. That's when you will understand. The story was never protecting you. The story was protecting your hunger from you. You expect a way out here. You expect instructions, steps, a path to reconcile your cravings with your slogans. That expectation is another bargain. Information in exchange for exoneration. You want to learn without losing anything. That's not how this works. The cost is not knowledge. The cost is something you want. You keep not paying. That's why you keep returning to the same hallway. You think guilt will save you. Guilt makes you dramatic, not disciplined. You build rituals of apology and confession and catharsis, and then you do it again. You treat pain like a sacrament that absolves you. Pain doesn't absolve. It marks where you refuse to cut clean. You think someone else made you do it. They offered. You accepted. That is the part you hate admitting, because it kills the story where you're good but trapped. You are not trapped. You are tethered by your own hand to a hook that pays you in jolts. You keep the tether because you like the jolts more than you like the quiet. You don't have to like hearing that for it to be true. You say no to a lot of things. You say it loudly. You still go silent when the exact flavor of yes you crave appears. Your no is theater if it evaporates when it matters. You have rehearsed saying no where the stakes are low. You want a medal for saying no to what you never wanted. Your morals are most proud when they are least tested. You're in a market. Everyone here trades. You bring your appetites and your stories. Others bring theirs. The deal you keep making is the one where you sell your standard for a feeling and then ask the buyer to call you good. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Either way, the trade is the same. You can stop calling it something else. Your old behavior embarrasses you for a reason. It told you exactly who you are when you want something. You don't go blind. You look away. You mutate words. You weaponize kindness. You sell out future you. You dress it all up until you believe it in the moment. Then you wake up with the same cold knowledge. You did it again. Desire ignores your morals. You helped it. You will want to pause this and argue with details. You will want to point at edge cases. You will want to say that love is messy and life is complex. You say that when you don't want to be measured. Complexity is where you hide, so you don't have to be counted. Count anyway. How many times did you cross your line? How many times did you lower your price? How many times did you choose the feeling over the principle? How many times did you laugh at someone else for doing what you do in private? You talk about standards like they are decorations. They are not ornaments. They are costs. If you haven't paid, you haven't held them. You took a picture with them. You posted it. Then you went back to the exchange. You have a brand, not a backbone. Your hunger knows it. So does everyone who profits off it. You want to be the exception. You want to be the one who desires deeply and stays immaculate. That fantasy is why you keep losing. It makes you think you are playing a different game. You're not. You're on the same field as everyone else. The scoreboard doesn't count what you meant. It counts what you did when the lever moved. Sit with the consequence. You lose time. You lose leverage. You lose credibility. You lose the ability to be clear. You teach people to doubt your words. You train your own nervous system to require more drama to feel alive. You blunt your sensitivity to quiet goodness. You kill intimacy with secrecy. You inflate your performance of virtue because your interior knows exactly what you traded. You can call that life. It's a slow sell-off. If you're smart, you're in more danger, not less. Intelligence makes better armor for your appetites. You can construct tighter logic to protect your exceptions. You can brand your way out of shame. You can weaponize nuance to keep from being cornered. You will feel sophisticated as you slide. No one will stop you. People respect performances of morals more than they respect morals when morals cost. You will be applauded. That applause will make it worse. Listen carefully to the simplest line here, because it will be the only one you hear in your head later. Desire ignores your morals. It doesn't hear them. It doesn't care. It isn't persuaded. It waits. It knows your schedule. It knows your triggers. It knows you talk big at breakfast and fold at midnight. It knows which scent of scarcity to spray. It knows how you panic at the possibility of being unwanted or unchosen or unknown. It knows your exact superstition. It will ring that bell. You will salivate and call it chemistry. You don't have to like the gravity. You have to respect it. You chose not to. You practice not respecting it every time you expected a story to keep you from falling. That's why you keep hitting the same ground. You were warned by your own bruises. You chose the air anyway. If you want to hear a fix, you're still bargaining. You don't get a fix here. You get a mirror. You look in it or you don't. You will still wake up with the same hunger. You will still meet the same leverage. You will still say the same pre-words unless you decide they aren't for show. You will either lose something you want or you will lose the version of you that pretends to have standards. That is the choice you keep not making. That is why you keep being steered. When you close this, you will feel quieter. That's the sound of a story dying. Leave it dead. Or don't. Desire ignores your morals either way. It doesn't wait for your consent. It doesn't care about your brand. It counts on your need to look good to others and to yourself. That need is the leash. You have worn it so long, you call it a necklace. You think watching this alone protects you. It doesn't. You're not being observed. You're being weighed, not by me. By the part of you that knows exactly what happens next when your phone lights up, when a certain face appears, when a certain threat is implied. That part of you is bored of your slogans. It wants to see what you do the next time gravity calls. Desire ignores your morals. It hears your footsteps anyway. It will wait at the same corner. It will watch you arrive with a fresh speech and the same mouth. It will follow you home and sit quietly until the house is dark. It will whisper the exact story that made sense last time. You will nod, and the nod will feel like consent. It isn't. It's capitulation. You will call it complicated. It isn't complicated. It's expensive. Pay or be purchased. Those are the only terms this market offers. You already know which you usually choose. That is why you're still here, watching something you'll pretend didn't cut you. You can call this cruel. It's not cruel. It's clear. Clarity isn't kind. Clarity ends games. You like games because games postpone cost. No more postponement. Call what you keep doing by its true name. You've been devout to desire and doctrinal with your morals. You don't have to like the line. You've been living it. Desire ignores your morals. It expects you to forget that as soon as it knocks. It expects you to smooth your hair, rehearse a value, and open the door. It expects you to take the hand and say it felt inevitable. You'll say it in a hushed voice like you're confessing something holy. You're not confessing. You're documenting a leverage that owns you. Remember it this way, because you will repeat this to yourself when you need to stop pretending. Desire ignores your morals. Your morals don't stop desire. Your morals only show what you are willing to lose. If that sentence sits heavy in your chest, good. Weight is what you've been avoiding. Weight is the cost. Weight is the proof you're hearing, not performing. You wanted a way to never feel cornered again. You don't deserve that. You deserve the truth. Here it is, without apology, without music. You are not better than your cravings. You are exactly as strong as what you refuse when every cell wants it. Everything else is your stage name. Everything else is your costume. Everything else is air. Desire ignores your morals. Stop pretending it doesn't, or keep pretending. The ground is patient. The fall is fast. The story is flattering. The bruise is honest. Which one you live by has never been a mystery. It's been a choice you hide from until it's too late to claim you didn't know. Now sit in the quiet you tried to outrun. Let the mirror hold your eyes. Don't move. Don't scramble for a quote or a plan. You already have too many. Feel the cost you've been deferring. That is the only thing in this room that isn't lying to you.